Hello everyone, and welcome to today's video where we'll be exploring some fascinating recent scientific research about the Bering Land Bridge and early human migrations to the Americas. I'm excited to dive into this topic with you and share some of the latest findings that are reshaping our understanding of how humans first arrived in North and South America. Before we begin, I want to emphasize that keeping up with scientific literature is incredibly valuable, whether you're a professional in the field or simply an enthusiast curious about human history and migration. The research we'll discuss today spans multiple disciplines, including archaeology, genetics, geology, and anthropology. By synthesizing findings across these fields, scientists are piecing together an increasingly detailed picture of early human movements across the globe. In this video, we'll cover several key themes. 1. The formation and timing of the Bering Land Bridge. 2. Evidence for early human presence in the Americas. 3. Genetic insights into ancient population movements. 4. Alternative migration theories and debates. 5. The environments and animals early humans encountered. 6. Cultural perspectives on human origins. Our goal is to provide you with a broad overview of current scientific thinking on these topics. We'll explore how new discoveries and analytical techniques are challenging long-held assumptions and opening up exciting new avenues for research. By the end of this video, you should have a solid grasp of when and how the Bering Land Bridge formed and disappeared, the latest evidence for when humans first arrived in the Americas, how genetics is reshaping our understanding of ancient migrations, the ongoing debates and alternative theories in this field, what early environments in Beringia and the Americas were like, how different cultural perspectives contribute to our understanding. Remember, science is an ongoing process of discovery and revision. The ideas we discuss today represent our current best understanding, but new findings are constantly emerging that may reshape these views. I encourage you to approach this topic with curiosity and critical thinking. So let's embark on this journey through time and across continents as we explore the fascinating story of how humans first came to populate the Americas. We'll be covering a lot of ground, so feel free to pause, rewind, or rewatch sections as needed. And don't forget to leave your thoughts and questions in the comments. I always enjoy hearing your perspectives. Let's get started with our first topic, the formation and timing of the Bering Land Bridge. Part 1. The formation and timing of the Bering Land Bridge. The Bering Land Bridge, also known as Beringia, plays a crucial role in our understanding of human migration to the Americas. Let's explore what recent research tells us about when and how this land bridge formed and disappeared. For much of the past few million years, Earth's climate has oscillated between cold glacial periods and warmer interglacial periods. During the coldest times, massive ice sheets covered large parts of North America and Eurasia. As these ice sheets grew, they locked up enormous amounts of water, causing global sea levels to drop significantly. Recent studies have provided new insights into the timing of the Bering Land Bridge's appearance. Contrary to earlier beliefs that the land bridge was exposed for long periods, new evidence suggests a more complex picture. The land bridge appears to have formed and disappeared multiple times as sea levels fluctuated. The most recent emergence of the Bering Land Bridge occurred much later than previously thought. New data indicates that the strait between Asia and North America remained flooded until around 35,700 years ago. This finding is particularly intriguing because it narrows the window of time during which humans could have first crossed from Asia to North America on foot. At its maximum extent, the land bridge was an expansive region, up to 1,000 miles wide. It wasn't just a narrow strip of land, but a vast, rich ecosystem that scientists call the Mammoth Steppe. This environment supported a diverse array of plant and animal life, creating a corridor through which species could move between continents. The timing of the land bridge's final submergence is also a topic of ongoing research. Current evidence suggests that rising sea levels began to flood the land bridge around 11,000 to 13,000 years ago. By about 10,000 years ago, the Bering Strait had fully reformed, cutting off the land connection between Asia and North America. These findings have significant implications for our understanding of human migration. They suggest that the window of opportunity for people to walk across the Bering Land Bridge was relatively narrow, perhaps only about 20,000 years. This timing aligns with some genetic and archaeological evidence for when humans first arrived in the Americas, but it also raises questions about earlier proposed dates for human presence in the New World. It's important to note that the Bering Land Bridge wasn't just a one-way street. Evidence suggests that animals and potentially humans moved in both directions across this land bridge. This bidirectional movement likely played a crucial role in the exchange of genes and cultures between Asia and the Americas. The environment of the Bering Land Bridge during its exposure was quite different from what we see in the region today. Instead of the tundra and sparse vegetation currently found in Alaska and eastern Siberia, the land bridge was covered in grasses and herbs, supporting large herds of grazing animals. This rich ecosystem would have provided ample resources for human hunters following game across the bridge. In summary, recent research has refined our understanding of when and how the Bering Land Bridge formed. It emerged later and perhaps for a shorter duration than previously thought, creating a relatively brief window for the first human migrations into the Americas. This new timeline is forcing scientists to reevaluate theories about early human presence in the New World and consider alternative routes or earlier maritime migrations. Next, let's turn our attention to the evidence for early human presence in the Americas and how it relates to this new understanding of the Bering Land Bridge. Part 2. Evidence for early human presence in the Americas. The question of when humans first arrived in the Americas has been a subject of intense scientific debate for decades. Recent archaeological discoveries and advances in dating techniques are continually pushing back the timeline of human presence in the New World. Let's explore some of the latest evidence and what it tells us about early human migrations. For many years, the prevailing theory was that the first humans arrived in North America around 13,000 years ago. This idea was based on the discovery of distinctive stone tools associated with the Clovis culture, found at sites across North America. The Clovis first model proposed that these people rapidly spread across the continent, becoming the ancestors of all indigenous American populations. However, a growing body of evidence has challenged this view. Archaeological sites predating Clovis culture have been discovered in both North and South America, suggesting a much earlier human presence. Let's look at some key sites and what they tell us. In North America, several sites have yielded evidence of human activity dating to before 13,000 years ago. These include a site in Texas where stone tools and processed mammoth bones date to around 15,500 years ago. Caves in Oregon containing human DNA and coprolites, fossilized feces, dated to about 14,300 years ago. A site in Pennsylvania with stone tools potentially dating back to 16,000 years or more. In South America, even more ancient sites have been discovered. Monte Verde in Chile, where archaeological remains date to at least 14,500 years ago, with some controversial claims of human presence as early as 18,500 years ago. A site in Brazil with rock art potentially dating to over 17,000 years ago. These findings suggest that humans were present in the Americas well before the formation of the Clovis culture. They also raise questions about how these early settlers arrived, given the relatively late emergence of the Bering Land Bridge that we discussed earlier. One possibility is that early humans used boats to travel along the Pacific coast, following a kelp highway, rich in marine resources. This coastal migration theory could explain how people reached South America so early and aligns with growing evidence of early maritime capabilities in other parts of the world. Another intriguing line of evidence comes from genetic studies of ancient and modern Native American populations. These studies have revealed a complex picture of multiple migration waves and population movements within the Americas. For example, genetic analysis suggests that all Native Americans descend from a single ancestral population that split from East Asian populations around 25,000 years ago. This population likely lived in Beringia for several thousand years before moving into the Americas proper. Furthermore, genetic evidence points to at least 3 distinct migration waves into the Americas. 1. The first wave, giving rise to most Native American populations. 2. A second wave associated with Na-Dene-speaking populations in North America. 3. A third wave linked to Eskimo Aleut-speaking peoples. These genetic findings complement the archaeological evidence, suggesting a long and complex history of human settlement in the Americas. It's important to note that the search for early human sites faces significant challenges. Rising sea levels since the end of the last ice age have submerged coastal areas where early settlers may have lived. Additionally, the acidic soils of many forested regions can quickly degrade organic materials, making preservation of ancient remains difficult. Despite these challenges, new discoveries continue to emerge. Advanced dating techniques, including optically stimulated luminescence and improved radiocarbon methods, are allowing researchers to more accurately determine the age of archaeological finds. Meanwhile, new technologies like ground-penetrating radar and lidar are helping to locate previously unknown sites. In summary, the evidence for early human presence in the Americas is growing stronger and more diverse. Archaeological sites, genetic studies, and new dating techniques are pushing back the timeline of human arrival and revealing a more complex picture of early migrations. While many questions remain, it's clear that the story of how humans first came to the Americas is far more ancient and nuanced than once thought. Next, let's delve deeper into how genetic research is reshaping our understanding of ancient population movements in the Americas. Part 3. Genetic Insights into Ancient Population Movements. Advances in genetic sequencing and analysis have revolutionized our understanding of human history, including the peopling of the Americas. By studying the DNA of both ancient remains and modern populations, scientists are uncovering intricate patterns of migration, admixture, and population dynamics. Let's explore some of the key insights that genetic research has provided. One of the most significant findings from genetic studies is the confirmation that Native American populations descend primarily from ancient Siberian populations. This supports the long-held theory that the Americas were first populated by people crossing the Bering Land Bridge from Asia. However, the genetic story is far more complex than a simple migration from Siberia to the Americas. Recent studies have identified several distinct ancestral lineages that contributed to Native American populations. 1. The first American lineage. This is the primary ancestral population that gave rise to most indigenous groups across North and South America. Genetic evidence suggests this population diverged from Siberian ancestors around 23,000 to 25,000 years ago. 2. The ancient Beringian lineage. Discovered through the analysis of an infant's remains found in Alaska, this lineage represents a population that split from the first American lineage around 20,000 years ago. It may represent a group that remained in Beringia while others moved south into the Americas. 3. The Na-Dene-associated lineage. This lineage is linked to speakers of Na-Dene languages in North America and shows a closer genetic affinity to some modern Siberian populations. 4. The Eskimo Aleut lineage. Associated with Arctic populations, this lineage represents a more recent migration from Siberia, possibly occurring within the last 5,000 years. These lineages suggest a scenario of multiple migration waves and complex population dynamics within Beringia and the Americas over thousands of years. Another fascinating discovery comes from the analysis of Y chromosome DNA, which is passed down exclusively through the male line. This research has identified a unique Native American Y chromosome lineage that likely originated in Beringia around 15,000 years ago. The distribution of this lineage across the Americas provides clues about the patterns of early population movements and expansions. Mitochondrial DNA, which is passed down through the maternal line, has also yielded important insights. Several mitochondrial DNA haplogroups are found almost exclusively in Native American populations, allowing researchers to trace maternal lineages back to the initial peopling of the Americas. One surprising finding from genetic studies is evidence of a distant connection between some Amazonian indigenous groups and populations in Australia, New Guinea, and the Andaman Islands. This genetic signal, while small, suggests a previously unknown population that contributed to both Amazonian and Australasian ancestry. The exact nature and timing of this connection remain topics of ongoing research and debate. Genetic studies have also shed light on how ancient American populations interacted and mixed after their initial arrival. For example, research has revealed evidence of gene flow between North and South American populations long after their initial separation. This suggests ongoing contacts and migrations within the Americas over thousands of years. The integration of genetic data with archaeological and linguistic evidence is providing a more comprehensive picture of population movements. For instance, the spread of certain archaeological cultures can now be linked to genetic lineages, helping to trace the movements of ancient peoples across the landscape. It's important to note that genetic studies also face limitations and potential biases. The availability of ancient DNA samples is limited, and not all populations are equally represented in genetic databases. Researchers must be careful to consider these factors when interpreting genetic data. Furthermore, genetic studies have raised ethical considerations, particularly regarding the involvement and consent of indigenous communities. Many researchers are now working closely with indigenous groups to ensure that genetic studies are conducted respectfully and with community input. In summary, genetic research has provided unprecedented insights into the complex history of human migration and population dynamics in the Americas. It supports a scenario of multiple migration waves, long periods of isolation and adaptation in Beringia, and ongoing population movements within the Americas. As sequencing technologies improve and more ancient genomes are analyzed, we can expect even more detailed and nuanced understandings of how humans came to populate the New World. Next, let's explore some alternative migration theories and ongoing debates in the field of early American prehistory. Part 4. Alternative migration theories and debates. While the Bering Land Bridge theory remains the most widely accepted explanation for how humans first reached the Americas, several alternative hypotheses and ongoing debates challenge or complement this model. Let's explore some of these alternative ideas and the evidence supporting them. One alternative theory proposes that some early Americans may have arrived by boat, following a coastal route along the Pacific shoreline. This kelp highway hypothesis suggests that maritime adapted populations could have rapidly moved down the coast, exploiting rich marine resources along the way. This theory could explain the early dates of some South American sites and aligns with growing evidence of early human maritime capabilities in other parts of the world. Proponents of the coastal migration theory point to several lines of evidence. 1. The presence of early sites along the Pacific coast of North and South America. 2. Similarities in tool technologies found along this coastal route. 3. The rich marine resources that would have supported human populations. 4. The fact that a coastal route would have been ice-free earlier than interior passages. However, testing this hypothesis is challenging because rising sea levels since the end of the last ice age have submerged much of the ancient coastline where evidence of early coastal settlements might be found. Another controversial theory proposes that some early Americans may have arrived from Europe, crossing the Atlantic Ocean during the last ice age. This Solutrean hypothesis suggests that stone tool technologies found in early American sites show similarities to those used by the Solutrean culture of southwestern Europe around 21,000 to 17,000 years ago. While intriguing, the Solutrean hypothesis faces several challenges. 1. The vast distance across the Atlantic Ocean that would need to be crossed. 2. The lack of clear genetic evidence linking Native Americans to ancient European populations. 3. The significant time gap between Solutrean culture and the earliest well-documented sites in the Americas. Most researchers consider the evidence for a transatlantic migration to be insufficient, but the debate continues to stimulate discussion about early human maritime capabilities and potential alternative routes to the Americas. A third area of ongoing debate concerns the possibility of pre-Clovis occupations in the Americas. While evidence for human presence before Clovis culture, roughly 13,000 years ago, has grown in recent years, the nature and extent of these early occupations remain contentious. Key points in this debate include: 1. The reliability of dating methods for very old sites. 2. The interpretation of stone tools and other artifacts as definitively human-made. 3. The extent to which pre-Clovis populations contributed to later Native American groups. Some researchers argue for human presence in the Americas as early as 30,000 years ago or more, based on controversial sites in South America. However, these claims remain highly debated within the scientific community. Another ongoing discussion revolves around the speed and patterns of human dispersal throughout the Americas. Some models propose a rapid, blitzkrieg expansion across both continents, while others suggest a more gradual process with periods of pause and adaptation to new environments. Recent genetic and archaeological evidence seems to support a model of initial pause in Beringia, followed by rapid movement into the Americas, and then a slower process of adaptation and diversification as populations spread across diverse landscapes. The role of climate change in driving human migrations is another active area of research. Fluctuations in temperature and precipitation would have dramatically affected the resources available to early Americans and may have influenced their movement patterns. Understanding these paleoclimatic conditions is crucial for interpreting the archaeological and genetic evidence. Lastly, there's growing recognition of the importance of integrating indigenous perspectives and traditional knowledge into scientific research on early American prehistory. Many indigenous groups have origin stories that differ from the scientific narrative of migration from Asia. While these stories are not typically treated as literal historical accounts, they can provide valuable insights into long-term environmental changes, ancient land use practices, and cultural continuity. In conclusion, while the Bering Land Bridge theory remains the dominant model for early human entry into the Americas, A variety of alternative hypotheses and ongoing debates continue to shape our understanding of this complex topic. As new evidence emerges and analytical techniques improve, we can expect our understanding of early American prehistory to continue evolving. Now, let's turn our attention to the environments and animals that early humans would have encountered as they moved into and across the Americas. Part 5. Early environments and megafauna in the Americas. The landscapes that greeted the first humans in the Americas were dramatically different from what we see today. Understanding these past environments is crucial for interpreting how early populations lived, moved, and adapted. Let's explore what recent research tells us about the ecosystems of Beringia and the Americas during the late Pleistocene. Beringia, the region encompassing the Bering Land Bridge and adjacent areas of Siberia and Alaska, was not the Arctic tundra we might imagine. Instead, it was a vast grassland ecosystem often referred to as the Mammoth Steppe. This environment was characterized by 1. Cold, dry conditions with less precipitation than today. 2. Extensive grasslands with a diverse array of herbs and shrubs. 3. Patches of trees in sheltered areas, particularly along rivers. Recent studies of ancient plant and animal remains, including analysis of preserved DNA from soil samples, have provided a detailed picture of this ecosystem. The Mammoth Steppe supported a rich diversity of large herbivores, including woolly mammoths, steppe bison, horses, woolly rhinoceroses, saiga antelopes, caribou. These grazing animals in turn supported populations of predators such as dire wolves, saber-toothed cats, short-faced bears, American lions. This rich ecosystem would have provided ample resources for human hunters moving into the region. The diversity of animal species offered a variety of hunting opportunities, while the open landscape likely facilitated tracking and pursuit of prey. As humans moved south into North America, they encountered even more diverse environments. The retreat of the ice sheets created a patchwork of habitats, including 1. Boreal forests expanding northward. 2. Temperate deciduous forests in eastern regions. 3. Grasslands and parklands in central areas. 4. Varied mountain ecosystems in western regions. These environments supported an even greater diversity of megafauna, large animals weighing over 100 pounds. Some notable species included mastodons, relatives of mammoths adapted to forested environments. Giant ground sloths, some standing up to 20 feet tall. Glyptodonts, car-sized relatives of modern armadillos. American camels and horses. Giant beavers weighing up to 200 pounds. Teratorns, massive birds of prey with wingspans up to 12 feet. The interaction between humans and these megafauna species is a topic of ongoing research and debate. Many of these large animal species went extinct around the end of the Pleistocene, roughly coinciding with the spread of human populations across the Americas. This has led to discussions about the potential role of human hunting in these extinctions. The overkill hypothesis suggests that naive animal populations, unused to human hunters, were particularly vulnerable to predation. However, the reality was likely more complex, involving a combination of human hunting pressure, climate change, and ecological shifts as the Ice Age came to an end. Recent studies have used techniques like stable isotope analysis of animal bones to reconstruct ancient food webs and track changes in animal diets over time. These methods are providing new insights into how ecosystems changed as humans spread across the landscape. The end of the Ice Age brought significant environmental changes. 1. Rising temperatures led to the melting of ice sheets and glaciers. 2. Sea levels rose, submerging coastal areas and eventually flooding the Bering Land Bridge. 3. Vegetation zones shifted, with forests expanding into many former grassland areas. 4. Many megafauna species went extinct, dramatically altering ecosystem dynamics. Early human populations would have needed to adapt to these changing conditions, potentially shifting their hunting strategies and lifestyle patterns. Evidence suggests that as large game became scarcer, there was a broadening of diets to include more plant foods, smaller animals, and fish. In South America, early humans encountered even more exotic fauna, including giant ground sloths like Megatherium, toxodons, large hoofed mammals distantly related to modern rhinoceroses, Macrochenia, a bizarre camel-like animal with a short trunk. Saber-toothed cats like Smilodon. The environments of South America ranged from tropical rainforests to high-altitude Andean ecosystems to the grasslands of Patagonia. This environmental diversity likely encouraged the development of varied cultural adaptations among early South American populations. Understanding these past environments is crucial for interpreting archaeological evidence. For example, the distribution of certain animal species can help reconstruct ancient migration routes, while changes in plant communities can inform us about the resources available to early human populations. Climate modeling and paleo-environmental reconstructions are providing increasingly detailed pictures of how these ecosystems changed over time. This information is vital for understanding the context in which early American cultures developed and adapted. In summary, the first humans to enter the Americas encountered a world teeming with unfamiliar and often massive animals, set in diverse and changing landscapes. As we continue to refine our understanding of these past environments, we gain deeper insights into the challenges and opportunities faced by these pioneering populations. Next, let's explore how different cultural perspectives contribute to our understanding of human origins in the Americas. Part 6. Cultural Perspectives on Human Origins. The scientific narrative of how humans came to populate the Americas is just one perspective on this complex story. Indigenous peoples across North and South America have their own rich traditions explaining their origins in ancient history. These cultural perspectives offer valuable insights and raise important questions about how we approach the study of human prehistory. Many indigenous origin stories describe their people as having always been present in their homelands, often emerging from the earth itself or being created in place by divine beings. These narratives stand in contrast to the scientific model of migration from Asia, leading to ongoing discussions about how to reconcile traditional knowledge with archaeological and genetic evidence. For example, some Navajo traditions speak of emergence through several underground worlds before reaching the current world. Many Amazonian groups have stories of their ancestors emerging from holes in the ground or from rivers. Some Arctic peoples describe migrations guided by spirit animals, which may reflect ancient memories of population movements. While these stories are not typically interpreted as literal historical accounts by scientists, they often contain valuable information about 1. Long-term environmental changes preserved in oral traditions. 2. Ancient land use practices and resource management techniques. 3. Cultural values and relationships with the land that have persisted for millennia. Increasingly, researchers are recognizing the importance of engaging with indigenous communities and incorporating traditional knowledge into scientific studies. This collaborative approach can lead to new insights and research directions. Some benefits of integrating cultural perspectives include 1. Identifying promising locations for archaeological investigation based on traditional knowledge. 2. Gaining a deeper understanding of how ancient populations may have used and moved through landscapes. 3. Recognizing the long-term continuity of cultural practices that may not be visible in the archaeological record. 4. Developing more ethical and culturally sensitive research practices. It's important to note that indigenous perspectives on human origins are diverse and not monolithic. Different groups have varied traditions, and these stories have often evolved over time in response to changing circumstances. The encounter between indigenous knowledge systems and Western scientific approaches has not always been positive. Historical misuse of genetic and archaeological data has sometimes been used to challenge indigenous rights and identities. This has led to understandable skepticism towards scientific research in some communities. However, there are growing efforts to bridge these divides. 1. Many indigenous scholars are now leading research projects, bringing both scientific training and cultural knowledge to their work. 2. Collaborative projects between scientists and indigenous communities are becoming more common, with research questions and methods developed jointly. 3. There's increasing recognition of the value of indigenous languages in preserving ecological and historical knowledge. One area where cultural perspectives have made significant contributions is in understanding ancient land management practices. Many indigenous groups maintained complex systems of environmental stewardship that shaped ecosystems over thousands of years. Recognizing these practices challenges older views of the Americas as a pristine wilderness before European contact. Examples include the use of controlled burning to manage forests and grasslands, sophisticated agricultural systems like the raised fields of the Amazon, long-term management of plant species through selective cultivation. These practices often left subtle marks on the landscape that are only now being fully recognized by researchers. Integrating this knowledge into archaeological and paleoecological studies is providing a more nuanced understanding of how humans have shaped American environments over millennia. Another important aspect of cultural perspectives is the emphasis on long-term connections to specific landscapes. While the scientific narrative often focuses on migration and movement, many indigenous traditions stress deep roots and intimate knowledge of local environments developed over countless generations. This tension between mobility and rootedness raises interesting questions about how we interpret evidence of population movements in the deep past. It encourages researchers to consider not just the fact of migrations, but also the processes by which people form enduring connections to new landscapes. The discussion around cultural perspectives also touches on broader questions about the nature of knowledge and how we understand the past. It challenges researchers to consider 1. The limitations of scientific methods in accessing certain kinds of historical and cultural information. 2. The value of diverse ways of knowing and transmitting knowledge across generations. 3. The ethical implications of how prehistoric narratives are constructed and presented. As we move forward, it's likely that the study of early human presence in the Americas will increasingly involve collaboration between scientific researchers and indigenous knowledge holders. This interdisciplinary and intercultural approach has the potential to yield richer, more nuanced understandings of the complex story of how humans came to inhabit the Americas. In conclusion, cultural perspectives on human origins in the Americas offer valuable complementary insights to scientific research. By engaging respectfully with these diverse knowledge systems, we can develop a more comprehensive and culturally informed understanding of the deep human past in the Americas. As we wrap up our exploration of recent research on the Bering Land Bridge and early human migrations to the Americas, let's recap some key points and consider their broader implications. 1. The timing of the Bering Land Bridge's formation and disappearance is more complex than previously thought. Its most recent emergence occurred later than expected, around 35,700 years ago, narrowing the window for potential land-based migrations. 2. Archaeological evidence continues to push back the date of human arrival in the Americas, with several sites predating the Clovis culture. This challenges long-held assumptions about when and how people first reached the New World. 3. Genetic studies reveal a complex picture of multiple migration waves and long periods of population isolation and adaptation in Beringia. This underscores the importance of considering Beringia not just as a transit zone, but as a long-term homeland for ancient populations. 4. Alternative migration theories, including coastal and maritime routes, continue to be debated. These discussions highlight the potential diversity of strategies early humans may have used to explore and settle new territories. 5. The environments encountered by early Americans were dramatically different from today, supporting a wide array of now extinct megafauna. Understanding these past ecosystems is crucial for interpreting how early populations lived and adapted. 6. Cultural perspectives, particularly from indigenous traditions, offer valuable complementary insights to scientific research. Integrating these diverse knowledge systems can lead to more comprehensive and culturally informed understandings of the human past. These findings collectively contribute to a more nuanced and complex understanding of how humans came to populate the Americas. They challenge us to think beyond simple linear narratives of migration and consider the diverse strategies, adaptations, and cultural developments that occurred over thousands of years. Looking forward, several exciting avenues of research are likely to yield further insights. 1. Advances in ancient DNA analysis may reveal even more detailed pictures of population movements and interactions. 2. Underwater archaeology along ancient coastlines could uncover evidence of early coastal migrations. 3. Refined climate modeling may help us better understand how environmental changes influenced human movements and adaptations. 4. Interdisciplinary collaborations between scientists and indigenous knowledge holders may open up new perspectives on ancient land use and cultural practices. These areas of study have implications that extend beyond academic interest. Understanding the complex history of human migrations and adaptations can inform current discussions about 1. Human resilience and adaptability in the face of environmental changes. 2. The long-term impacts of human activities on ecosystems. 3. The diversity of cultural approaches to environmental stewardship. 4. The deep roots of indigenous connections to specific landscapes. As we continue to unravel the story of early human presence in the Americas, it's crucial to approach this topic with humility and openness. The picture that emerges is one of remarkable human ingenuity, adaptability, and diversity, a testament to the complex and fascinating history of our species. I encourage you to continue exploring this topic, to question assumptions, and to consider multiple perspectives. The story of how humans came to populate the Americas is not just about the distant past, it's a vital part of understanding who we are as a species and how we relate to the environments around us. Thank you for joining me on this journey through time and across continents. I hope this video has sparked your curiosity and given you new insights into this fascinating area of research. If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to share your thoughts and questions in the comments below. I'm always eager to hear your perspectives and ideas for future topics. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep exploring the amazing story of human history.